We might actually kick things off as we've got quite a few people in here now. So if you're just joining, welcome. It's great to have you all here on a Friday. Fridays are our favourite day because every fortnight we get to spend them with you doing a webinar. This week is all about making the most of the lockdown, as you can see. So we're with Kiah Worling. She is a tech head and productivity advisor. If you're from Brisbane, chances are you already know her wonderful face. A bit of background on Kiah. She has had quite a career before coming and starting her own business, all centered around tech, innovation, productivity, and we're very lucky to have her on today. So yeah, she's got a strong background in tech, projects, and planning. So when it comes to productivity, she is your lady. And then how today's going to go is we're going to do the webinar now with Kiah presenting, and then I'll jump back on the end and we'll do live question and answers. Kiah, I'm going to turn my video off and leave it with you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So welcome and thank you for sharing your Friday morning with us. And I'm really excited to be here. I've been involved in different ways with Women in Digital. I think I first met Holly going back to when I was first thinking of starting my own business. And so, yeah, in this really bizarre time when everything is a bit upside down, I think it's great to come at it as a positive and have a look at what all the opportunities are for making the most of the lockdown. So that's really where Holly and I bounced some ideas around what I could offer from a, productivity perspective. And I'm really driven to make sure that things are really positive for everybody, despite the fact that some of us are experiencing this, I guess, in a way that doesn't feel so good sometimes. And so really making the most of the lockdown from whatever space we're coming at this from. So I just want to first give a very special thank you to the team because these three ladies go above and beyond for everybody in the Women in Digital network. And I really applaud and the work that you're doing, and thank you for allowing me to be involved in expanding the knowledge that you're all sharing. So in today's session, we're going to rapid fire through 5 productive ways to harness this unique time. And I do put a little caveat that you never know, it could lead to a boost in profits, because anytime we look at productivity, what we're ideally doing is looking at how we can do what we do in a way that's more efficient to free up time for what matters most, other maybe things outside of our work hours, or being able to dedicate time to the work that really lights us up the most. So yeah, productivity in a sense of how it's linked to efficiency can also then lead to a boost in profits, because if we can do the same task in 20 minutes instead of 1 hour, all of a sudden that 40 minutes becomes a profit margin. So that's really where we get that link from. And hopefully in this, literally, I'm going to throw down a bunch of ideas. It's very conversational. However I present, you'll pick some stuff up that might make sense for you, and other stuff you can just say, no thanks, Kiah, I don't really want to do that right now. That doesn't fit for us. So lots of ideas for you guys to look at within your teams and individually. So really, as I said, this is me. Sorry, I nearly jumped a slide. So I'm Kiah. Let me give you a bit of a background. I came out of a big creative agency prior to starting my own business. I really went out in my own business because I had 2 beautiful baby boys, and, the long hours and the creative life, agency life wasn't really a great fit when we needed some flexibility in our family. So I really went to market with all of the background in digital marketing and planning and production and strategy that I'd had, and thought, well, this is really great, juicy stuff, and it's available for the big corporate minds out there and with big budgets. And there's a whole bunch of small businesses, entrepreneurs, medium-sized businesses that could really benefit from some of the methodologies and some of the thinking and all of that stuff. So I guess I started my business by doing everything that I knew. That was 4 and a bit years ago, 4.5 almost. But now I've really refined into a zone of looking at how we can be leveraging technology to boost our productivity and to I'm here to create a space to learn, play, and connect. So this is my mission statement, and it really does ring true to everything I align myself. It's my North Star. And it really is about bettering the lives of others through leveraging technology, boosting productivity, and creating a space to learn, play, and connect. And I really emphasize the word play because I feel like tech should be fun, and the way we interact with it should be fun instead of feeling like we want to bang our heads on our laptops or throw it out the window. So that is where I come from. Before the creative agency life, I worked in IT and law firms. So there was, the system side of things, which is more operational. So it's a bit of an interesting combination of things, and hopefully, as we go through today, you'll start to see how those things marry up. So yeah, we're going to do a good old fashioned throwdown of ideas here. We want to make the most of this time, like Mr. Hamish Blake, bringing some humor and using the technology to be able to, deliver things differently and adapt in a way that is really positive and opportunistic. So thank you very much, Hamish, for lighting up all of our worlds. The very first thing I want to cover in this prezzo is about the opportunity we have right now to socialize, which sounds a little bizarre, right? Because, you don't really think of socializing when we've got so much distance going on. But for many businesses, it really is a time to nurture relationships and expand connections. So we've all got the same constraints, in a sense that we're all working from home or have been put into remote working environments. We need to still maintain our connections within our teams, maintain connections with our family, maintain connections with our neighbours, everybody who is around us. So really it is a time to socialise. And this is especially true if you've seen sort of a decline in sales, or you're not face-to-face with people who you were face-to-face with live speaking at events, for example, rather than online. So I really want to give you some ideas here of how you can make the most of this lockdown by socializing. And a really, I guess, obvious way to do that is to be setting up those rapid fire check-ins each day with the team. And because we are in such a not normal environment, we need to make sure that we're encouraging the banter and the humor and the checking in that you might do, when you bump past someone and say, how are you today? Rather than everything online being very transactional in the video chats or through social media or whatever it is, we just really want to make sure that we're acknowledging that maybe some people right now aren't okay. Some people are really okay, and some people really aren't okay. There could be things going on for them in their family units. There could be stuff going on in extended family units. There could be people around them who aren't well. And so we want to hold the space to be able to have those human connections in a way that, I guess, in a way normalizes the conversation and makes us comfortable with everybody being a bit uncomfortable. And so, having the dog turn up in the background shot of a Zoom call and some of those things that, to be honest, I feel like I've been living in the remote working life for the past 4 or 5 years. And a lot of people that I was already, networking with and have as clients were already starting to allow those little pieces of ourselves a little bit more into the online world. And that's definitely there for everybody now. You probably have literally found it. You've had to start working from home and people can all of a sudden see your living room, which they couldn't see before. So it definitely has blurred those lines, and it's not so separated anymore because we don't have the different environments. So so just making sure that we are using the opportunities, and it doesn't have to always be on the video calls. We can be doing things in the background, for people who we know maybe aren't doing so well. Maybe we are sending them a little voice message, whether it's on an Instagram DM or just voice message through your phone, just to be able to say, hey, realize it could be tough for you right now, and I just want you to know I'm thinking of you, and if you need me, I'm around. So those are ways that we can really grow our connections with others during this time. Obviously there's the other part of things, which is, like the virtual co-working sessions where we can hold each other accountable, where we have the opportunity to have, Sunday sessions or Friday afternoon virtual drinks with colleagues and things like that. So we just really want to make sure that we're bringing that element in to however we're working day to day. Going further than that, This is a great time to be socializing with your ideal clients or customers. So how can we be getting to know our customers better? How can we be using this dialogue now and this opportunity for so many people to be doing more online, to learn more about what our customers do and don't need right now, and what they're feeling and aren't feeling right now, and what questions they're asking or not asking right now. Because this is well, it always is so rich, but right now we can actually find that out through the online world. So I would really encourage you to be seeing what opportunities there are. I mean, I think Facebook groups, if you know that your ideal customers or even peers that you can bounce ideas with inside certain Facebook groups, we can be in and out of those, reading them, commenting, sharing. I mean, being open and vulnerable in a way that invites others to open up and be vulnerable too. This will all give you a much richer data set. I mean, we've always spoken about being authentic and turning up genuinely online, and this is really a time to do that. Nurture your community, and don't always think of it as the online stuff. The offline stuff can be happening too. So in the background, we can be, is it sending a note? Is it doing things that grow our email list? Putting new things in market. Now I've jumped forward a slide. So obviously my timer is telling me, come on, Kiah, stop talking, speed things up. So the second opportunity that I see available to you guys is the declutter. Okay, so it's really easy for our desktops to become loaded with documents, for things not to be in the cloud because they haven't been stored in the spot that Dropbox pops them up in the cloud, or whatever cloud-based document storage you're using. Inboxes can be out of control. To-do lists can be everywhere, and where we were once kind of having the work in progress meetings and being able to bounce ideas about who's working on what, or ourselves just getting a bit clearer on what we need to do. I mean, when we're in uncertain times, things can get a bit foggy as well. So the declutter is a really great way to clear the mind, clear the desktop, clear the inbox, clear the to-do list, not necessarily to burn through everything that's on it, but just get it in a way that makes sense to you. And another massive one are our e-lists. So many times our database and our data set is completely out of control, and we sort of patch things together. They're held together by sticky tape. And this is a great time to jump into that data set and to be able to understand, okay, well, how are our lists set up and how are we segmenting? And do we have a bunch of people who aren't very engaged, who haven't clicked on a link in an email for like 12 months, but we still continue to send them an email? I mean, I would suggest that the decluttering really lets you regain control of your e-life, right? So instead of it feeling like it's all over the place, we're starting to tuck it in. We really do have an understanding that if we want to find a document, it's saved in a certain folder. And this is a great opportunity as a team, if you guys are sitting inside of teams, to have a look at, okay, well, are there old projects or files that we can be archiving? Could we be putting our Sadie the cleaning lady hat on and actually, moving through a process that helps us hit the reset switch, so that when things do start to move and take off again, we haven't got that backlog and that kind of those weights, so to speak, on our ankles of not being able to find things. We can become a lot more productive if we know precisely how to find something, precisely where it's at. We're not digging through email after email to figure out whether we've replied or not replied to somebody. So I think getting on top of that will really lift a weight. So in the team, it will lift spirits, because it's like, oh, cool, we're back in control of things. We feel good. And especially at a time when we feel so out of control, this can be a really special way to, just give people a little bit of a confidence, like, right, we're good. We can hit the reset switch and we can move forward. So have a look at them. Inboxes, to-do lists, document storage, and what do your contacts look like? The humans you deal with in your business, and whether that's internally in terms of the team and internal comms. If you're in a company that's got a big team, you may even be looking at how you're communicating in-house. But beyond that, certainly those customer data sets, those lists that are a little out of control, where the tags have got out of control, or maybe you haven't had any tags at all, and it's time to start thinking about how you can, make more sense of your data set in a meaningful way, so that you can go forward knowing when you hit send, it's landing in front of the right people. Okay, so moving on, the third opportunity I see for you guys here is to streamline things. And so when I'm talking about streamlining, I'm talking about getting your DigiDucks in a row, making sure that you're not paying for subscriptions left, right, and center, that you've got a home for everything, and that the way that we work online or even just within our teams is consistent. So when we streamline, for example, our subscriptions, we really want to look at the moment for opportunities to trim the fat. So an example of that is paying sort of like twice for the same solution. And I've certainly seen this a few times where people have got, and I'm going to refer back to email lists, but really this extends across lots of things. So they might have tried MailChimp, for example, and I'm talking about small business here. Obviously, big businesses, different platforms, but you know, might have tried MailChimp and they've got a little bit of data sitting there, and then they decided it wasn't for them. So they went and they turned on Send in Blue, and then it was like, oh, well, now I've got things in 2 places. And then next minute they've got Active Campaign turned on. They feel like it's the right fit, but they haven't kind of streamlined everything yet. So how can we tackle that in and make sure that when we've got a form, an opt-in on our website, you know, that it is streamlining through to Active Campaign, which is attaching the same tag and not having 3 different tags for the same thing. And then we move through. So how can we start looking at our customer journey and picking out pieces of that puzzle? And for some people, the customer journey is like 5 steps long. For others, there's lots and lots of steps. But streamlining always comes down to the 1%ers, the small wins for big impact. So what we do is we hone in, we say, okay, in the team, how are we doing this step? Pick a step inside your customer journey. Maybe it's what happens when we've had a quick call with somebody on the phone, and then we've got the next stage, which is ideally getting in a room with them. Okay, so how are we each going about that? How could we be doing that better? What steps could we be collectively taking? Who's found what's worked for them? And then we're literally saying, okay, well, once we've had that quick call, let's make sure we all send a follow-up note that goes out within 24 hours and give them the invitation to meet in real life, if that's the next step that you would like them to take. And then once we've been able to do that, but they still haven't got back to us to book in a time, maybe there's another follow-up a couple of days later. And maybe the follow-up for that is actually a follow-up call and not an email. So you decide together how you're consistently going to deliver your customer experience, or consistently going to work internally with your workflows. And you just start to get that little piece humming. And then you move to the next thing, and you move to the next thing and the next thing. So this is really about making sure you're on top of your subscription so you don't have duplicates, making sure you've got a home for everything so that there's not one person in the team keeping their client notes inside of notes on their phone in Apple Notes, and somebody else is using Evernote, and somebody else is, you know, keeping notes inside their inbox. It's like, okay, well, where are we all going to keep notes? Okay, well, from now on, let's all keep notes in this one spot. And then from there, you go further to pick out pieces of the customer journey and streamline them one by one. Okay, so how could we do this little section better? Awesome, let's start to build that out. And it really does lead into my next point, which is about automation. This is an amazing opportunity to automate things, because once you're starting to get on top of streamlining, you can start to bring in the robots to do stuff for you. So not all of those manual repetitive tasks that are being done, you can start to look at, okay, well, we actually haven't really had a lot of time to streamline it, let alone automate things. What are we doing day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, that could actually be done by our good friends, the robots, right? So how could we be bringing in the, you know, online scheduling tools like Calendly and Acuity to be able to book appointments on our behalf instead of the toing and froing across emails to try and find times that work for people? How can we be looking at joining the dots between platforms so that they actually talk to each other? So we're not manually exporting data out of one spot into another in order to send an email out. So we're not manually saving a document that's emailed to us in our inbox across to Dropbox. I mean, there's ways that we can deliver documents directly to where they need to be saved. So looking at all those opportunities of stuff that you're doing day to day that really you're like, you know what, this isn't like mission critical for me to be doing this. If there was another human on the planet, or a robot even better on the planet that could be doing this for me, what could we be looking at and automating right now? And automation is really about winning back hours, because if you can meaningfully pick out parts of the stuff that's being done in your business and automate it, then you're going to literally win back those hours to be using somewhere else. Like I often come back to on work that really lights you up, or making progress on product development and innovation that you haven't had time to get to. And so I really want to, I guess, address automation in a similar way to address streamlining, which is that it's the 1%ers, the bit by bit coming together that can build out the whole system. If you try and automate from start to finish on a project or on any kind of customer journey, like from go to woe, that's incredibly overwhelming and can take a long time to get into market. I'd really encourage you guys to be getting clear on your customer journeys. And if you have never done customer journey mapping, that's also totally fine. There's lots of businesses out there that they hear the importance of it. I guess the same as data sets and lists, they hear the importance of it. Being in the cloud, obviously, all of a sudden that was really important because we needed access to everything. But you know, this is about little small wins. And so as a team, you can say, okay, where could we get the most impact right now? Or even if you're not a team, if you're a one-man band like I am, you know, like I'm often looking, okay, where could I get the most impact right now? What could either generate us more revenue because it's going to bring more leads through the door? So what's revenue generating could I do that would streamline things and then automate things better? Or on the flip side, what's profit generating? And when I talk about profit generating, I'm talking about productivity and efficiency wins, so that the same job can be done, or the same task can be done, but in a shorter time frame. So do you need right now to increase your revenue streams coming in, or do something in that space? And if that's blocked, because let's be honest, the environment around us is blocking that for some people, then it's a really great time for you to be looking at your profit margin wins and streamlining and having a home for everything and getting your digiducks in a row, and then automating the stuff that's repetitive, that really doesn't need to be done by a human, where there is a robot going, hey guys, I'll help you with it. I mean, that's a really good, this is a great opportunity for that. And you're going to reap the benefits of it, because that's, you know, literally winning back hours, and especially once things start to take off again. And last but not least, the fifth opportunity that's really available is innovation. And so we've seen a lot of conversations about pivoting, and I feel like when this all started happening, there was actually a lot of pressure. People felt a lot of pressure to very quickly pivot, innovate, get to market online if they're used to being offline. And it may have even been clients. Like I've had so many clients coming going, I need digital products, I need to get online, I need to drop this, I need an online course, I'm going to go into membership mode, you know, all of these things that they may have already been half considering for the business, but all of a sudden it was like, you know what, that's it, I've really got to do it now, now's the time. So innovation for me comes with, at the moment, in the current context that we're in, comes with a real warning sign, because I've seen some whammies going on where people are innovating. It feels like because they should, you know, it's change for change's sake. It's kind of a little bit left of field from what I thought was their brand values or their core offering or their core mission. And I just really, there's so many things going on that I really feel like it's an important note to say that with this innovation piece at the moment, come back to your mission, your vision, your values as a company, and decide, does that align? Seeing a designer go out and start building courses on Teachable and starting copywriting, for example, to me are a little bit at odds with the core value of who they were first in front of. Whereas seeing a client who normally does, you know, school incursions where they go and teach kids fitness classes and they can't be in front of kids fitness classes, extending to go online and offering classes at home for parents to entertain their children, that feels like the brand alignment is still there. It's serving in that case a similar audience, but it is different because he's then all of a sudden talking to teachers, not school students, but the outcome is the same, which is getting kids moving, getting them fit and getting them entertained. So really look at why you exist. There's certainly the opportunity to extend in front of new markets. There's the opportunity, or humans, so new audiences. And it may be that your innovation is just to expand your reach right now because your goal is to grow your community and grow your email lists rather than, conversion strategies. So have a look at, am I, getting in front of new people? Am I getting out to the same people with a new product? Am I getting out to new people with a new product? And if it is new people with a new product, really be careful that you're coming back into brand alignment. So delivering things differently is an innovation. So this idea of delivering it through Zoom instead of delivering it in person is a micro example of innovation. Delivering the same thing differently so that you can break up the price point on things. And I know I did this for myself in my business, was already actually planning it. So strategically, I'd already sanity checked the alignment, but at the moment it was very overwhelming for clients or ideal clients that I have to invest $2,000 and $3,000 in, system setups, because that was a lot of money for if they've had their income dry up. I've got PR clients who literally just lost all of their clients and had no revenue all of a sudden. So it's about going to market. In my case, I went to market with bite-sized versions. So instead of buying the whole project, they just buy a few hours of my time to get a piece of the puzzle done. So have a look at how you can deliver what you do differently. Is it breaking it up into bite-sized chunks? Is it taking it online? Is it, the world's your oyster. You can think of lots of different ways to innovate. But yeah, it doesn't have to be that you're going in front of a new audience or a new market. It can just be that you're going to the same people, but just delivering it in a different way. And then I'd say wrapped into all of that, whenever there's an innovation piece, there's a learning piece. There's learning in the team because things are being done differently. There's potentially new technology that people need to get used to using. And there's a lot of testing and iterating that needs to come with that. There's a lot of technical confidence that needs to come with it. There's a lot of research and analytics and making sure that you're understanding, are these things working or not working? Is it what our market needs or doesn't need? So just hold the space around that learning piece for everybody in the team. And I'm sure you guys are doing it anyway, because we've had to do it with adapting to remote working. So the learning piece that comes in with innovation is a really important component of it. And so creating space so that people can take time to learn, which does take generally a bit longer when you're learning, a new platform. You do need a little bit more time to get used to it than you would if you'd been using it for some time. So I think that really wraps up the 5 areas that I think there is opportunity right now for you guys to make the most of this lockdown time. So going into, socializing, decluttering, streamlining, automating, and innovating. And really, as I said, lots of ideas so you can pick out for yourselves which area might work for you, and then sit together in a team and start to pick 1 or 2 of those things out. If you liked what I've thrown down here, and I hope that you guys don't mind me sharing, I've got a 52 tech tips guide on my website that's full of tips and tricks for busy and brilliant businesses. So please feel free to jump into that. There's lots of ideas around the right tools to have in your toolkit, and it may be that's something you can work on at the moment. And of course, feel free to have just a good old Insta stalk and online stalk. My website is kiahworling.com. My Instagram handle is Kiah Worling, and I really want to thank you for your time this morning. I'm completely open to questions. So if anyone has anything, even if it's not covered in here, I'm an open book, so feel free to fire away.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kiah. There are a couple questions coming through, but if you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A section. But before this webinar started, we did reach out to some people that were attending to ask them what they wanted to know. So first off, Kiah, in an office setting, there's time cues, but at home I keep losing track of time, either working too long, especially into the evening, or over a long lunch. How do you track time?
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple of questions in one there, right? So some of it is around not necessarily time tracking, but structuring the day in a way that has a start and finish, and establishes some breaks. And so I'd really encourage you to look at how you can carve out time to stop and have breaks. It's really important. We can't just be kind of productive overdrive machines. There's like this feeling that we need to be proving that we're getting work done because people can't see us getting work done. And I think that therefore people feel like they need to be online and be visible and be landing in people's inboxes and turning up to the meetings. So it's really important, I guess, a couple of parts of the puzzle can come in that aren't time tracking. And I will definitely answer the time tracking question, but, you know, making sure that you've got regular check-ins so that people know that if everyone in the team is going to rapid fire through, you know, the 3 things they plan on getting done for the day at 8:30 each day, then you jump online for that. You want to make sure you're taking a break, and you'll know for yourself what your kind of productivity focus time is. For myself, I can kind of block out up to about 2 hours before I definitely need to be stopping and taking a break. But I've worked in teams where people have a 20-minute attention span, right? So if you've got a 20-minute attention span, then play to your strengths with that. And there's a technique out there, which is that Pomodoro technique, which is the, you know, tomato shaped timer, where you literally just set yourself the 20 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, 20 minutes, 5-minute break. So there's a few productivity methods out there, but I would just say making sure that you're setting yourself time to break and giving yourself a kind of mental cue that you're no longer in work mode. So for me personally, when I'm no longer in work mode, I'm like shutting the lid of my laptop, piling up whatever I've got and putting it in a separate room. Or if you've got the joy of an office, then you can like literally shut the door. And you know that the minute that you shut the door, it's like, yeah, I'm not in work mode anymore. I would recommend things like turning off notifications for emails on your phone. Like if you guys are working from home and your computers are at home, do you even need your emails on your phone right now? So just to turn off some of the noise and distractions that keep us on. And then, you know, the simple things like when you do shut that door and walk out the office, go for a walk for 20 minutes. There's, you know, some evidence and science out there that I've read around the transition time to go from kind of work mode to play mode, or in my case, work mode to mum mode. And it's a 20 to 30 minute zone where I need to kind of mentally defrag from the day to then go into the new zone of being, you know, in mum mode. So, and that mental shift is really there if I allow that transition time. So if you're like expecting yourself to kind of finish work and then just be turned off, like mentally you're done, that's not going to work. Allow yourself the 20 to 30 minutes, and a walk is an awesome way to do that. But maybe it's listening to music, maybe, I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. So give yourself a cue, whatever that cue is, of turning off, you know, shutting the lid on the laptop or closing the door. You need a mental cue for that. Look at what's going on your phone so that the, you know, pings and distractions aren't there the whole time. And do, you know, ask yourself, do you even need that email app right now on your phone? And then the third thing I'd say to that is, yeah, have a look at that transition time around what's going on. Now, the other part of the question was around losing track of time and how to track time. And I think this part of the question really comes down to task management and knowing what you sort of intend to achieve for the day, how long you think it's going to take you. I think the process of guesstimating, you know, and giving yourself a sort of allocation of time. One task might be 15 minutes long, but another one might need 2 or 3 hours, and another one might need 2 days. But setting yourself a 2-day task is when you really do start losing track of time. So I'd say, you know, break it down into sections that if your attention span is 2 hours and after that you're like, oh, I really need to stop, then don't let the task be longer than 2 hours, and break your day up. So it's like task 1, have a break, client meeting online, have a break, and set it out that way. So get your tasks kind of visible in advance. Give yourself an estimate of time of how long you think it's going to take. And then if you do want to time track, because there are people who find that really helpful to be able to stay on task. I personally just use a little tool called Toggle, but there are other time tracking tools that fit more within the project management space. And I know Harvest has got a great one. But even if you're not using any time tracking, you're literally task tracking, you're saying, I think it's going to take this long, but then next to it, write what it actually took. It gives you some accountability for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I know that like it's easy to get stuck in a wormhole as well, just like one more thing, and then at 6:30 and you're like,
yeah. And so for me, I think if you start the day with a hit list of the things you really want to get done, anything else you do on top of that is a bonus.
yeah.
But especially if you're a team and you do have that feeling like, I need people to know that I am genuinely doing stuff. I need my manager to know I'm not just sitting watching Netflix and, you know, eating popcorn or whatever's going on in the background. You know, those check-ins at the beginning of the day where everyone just bounces and says, okay, actually what I've got on, I'd like to get this one thing done today, if it's a big one, or this one thing and 2 little things, whatever it is, it just sets the bar. I think that's going to take me the 8 hours or the 7.5 or the 6 or whatever it is that you're supposed to do in a day. And then if you're ticking those things off, when you check in the next day, it's like, okay, how did everyone go yesterday? Actually, yeah, I got one of the things done, but not the other 2 because it got blocked. I was waiting on information from somewhere. So I've still got to do those, but instead I got these other 2 things done. So just that bouncing, and it's not about, you know, like micromanaging. It's just more about people being accountable for what they've got on for the day and then having a really good go at getting those things done.
I can't remember who said it, but someone said like it's impossible to over communicate in this kind of work from home setup. Like it's better to really communicate, really have that FaceTime via like video calls and that sort of thing than the opposite. So like when in doubt, just over communicate has been kind of the messaging that we've received.
Yeah.
Yep. On to the next question.
Yes.
How can you communicate the aspects of your personal life that now intrude into your work, like children or cats or wall decorations, now that everything's on display? There's a camera in your home a lot of the day.
Yeah, I would say with humor. I think that's the biggest one. I mean, I've definitely had times my dog religiously barks at the postman every day and I can't predict what time that's coming. So it could happen any moment now where the dog goes crazy at the postman. So I think just with humor and with humility, and then just move on into wherever you need to get to next. Yeah, so that, I mean, that's my biggest tip. I don't know, other people might find it different, but I just sort of laugh my way through it. It's like, well, everyone feels it, knows it, and you're still turning up. So yeah, just have a laugh about it, really.
Absolutely. And when in doubt, just have a white wall. White wall in their house, yeah, and then you know nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful. What are the best digital tools to use to capture things you want to read or do later when you have the time?
Yeah, well, I guess this comes down to one of my principles, which is give everything a home. Okay, yeah. So whether that's bookmarking at all, because you're in Chrome and you can click at the button bookmark, whether it's using your Apple Notes on your phone, so when you are looking at something, you quickly copy and paste the link into Apple Notes, whether that is using a tool like Evernote, you know, where you get to kind of keep track of things. So, or whether everything that you sort of really genuinely want to get to, because I know sometimes we look at those things and we're like, oh, that'd be really good to read, but it's actually just wishful thinking. Inside, I use Asana as a task management tool. So if I really want to listen to an audio book or really get on top of some links and do some reading, yeah, making sure you're committing the time to that each week. Like, don't just kind of wishfully think it's going to happen. But recording it all in one spot can be inside an Asana task. And so that's a nice spot that you can just then, when you have that 2 hours that week or that 1 hour that week, you're going into that mode. It could be daily. Everybody does it differently, but that's just all in one spot. So that really, those are some ideas. Yeah. Bookmarks, notes, Evernote is kind of a very, you know, on steroids kind of note-taking solution, or even just inside whatever your task management platform is. Yeah. I think the calendar appointment in your,
yeah,
where you're like, okay, well, for this 2 hours, I get blocked out every Friday morning, like now, and you just copy and paste links into there until you can get back to it.
100%. And like what you say is so true. Like, it doesn't matter what tool you choose, just make sure it's the one and it has a home rather than just having little bits everywhere. Yeah. What is the best online whiteboard style sharing tool that you?
Goodness, I honestly couldn't answer that question. Can I come back to that one? I'll promise I'll hint that one in notes. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go and look that one up.
Yeah, absolutely. how do you ensure everything is saved to the cloud and not on the desktop? Like, I know, like, Kayla and I are really bad at this. We'll just download things and then our desktop full by the end of the week. So we need to like go through and clear that. How do you?
Yeah, well, the way I do it is, so in my document folder structure, I've got something I call the mudroom. And what it is basically a spot similar to what a mudroom is in a house. When you walk in and you've got the muddy boots and the jackets, not that we have them, but if you go and look at mudrooms, especially the ones from, you know, Europe and North America, these guys, you know, they come in with their sludgy, you know, muddy snow boots and all this stuff that they have to drop down the door, not us kicking off our thongs and walking into the next room. But, you know, mudrooms are somewhere, it's basically just somewhere you drop stuff. And then you come in and you kind of clean it up and clear it out and get back on track. So the same happens with school bags. When kids walk through the door, if you can get them landing it in the same spot, the same thing will happen when you get home with your bag and your keys. If you create this space virtually, but it's in the cloud, then you're going to be 100 steps ahead. So instead of my Chrome browser being linked to download to the downloads folder, it's actually linked to my mudroom. And instead of, you know, my screenshot app quickly saving screenshots to my desktop, it's linked to save to my mudroom. Instead of the scanner scanning things through to something, you know, locally on my computer, it's set up to go into the mudroom. So I've got like this dirty, gross folder of stuff that's hanging out in there. And then once a week, I just make a commitment to go in and go, do I need to keep that? Not keep that. If I don't keep it, just delete it. If I do need to keep it, then I drag and drop it into wherever it needs to be saved. Okay. So that's how I get around that. Because then no matter what's saved to the mudroom, I literally have that in my pocket everywhere I go because it's in the cloud. So yeah. And if you've got an IT team, you could ask them to create this folder for people so that when your computers are set up, you're literally the Chrome, if you're using Chrome, I mean, all browsers will do it, but yeah, you're just selecting that downloads are going into the mudroom instead of the downloads folder.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I kind of have two questions that I'm going to combine. So one was from a member and the other is from Steph just now. Okay. So what are the things worth subscribing to and paying for? And on the back of that, what tools do you have for managing subscriptions, both email or software?
Wow, that's a massive question because for everybody, what's worth subscribing to and paying for is different. I would say there are some absolute must-haves, right? So no matter what business there is, you must have a solution for emails, calendars and contacts. That, you know, that's just a must. Even better if that contact solution is a CRM. So there are email marketing platforms out there. I really like to delineate between what just does email marketing and what does customer relationship management. So for example, my go-to for that is G Suite linked to ActiveCampaign. But a lot of bigger businesses are in Microsoft, which means that they don't, you know, Microsoft doesn't play as nicely with others, but it's very suitable for larger scale businesses. So what you just want to be making sure is that that's in the bag, and definitely a CRM if you can get one. And I know for lots of people, it's like, here goes postman, possibly dogs starting to growl in the background. Yeah, so there's a lot. Those two for me are a must have. The other must have is somewhere that has awesome, you know, accounting where you can see your numbers, you can see how projects are tracking, you can keep record of expenses, lots of stuff. Because if you're in business and you don't know numbers, then you're in trouble. And that relates to everybody who's, whether they're working for someone else or not. If you don't see the direct correlation between your role and what that is supposed to be bringing to the business and what you are bringing to the business, I think you really need to get on top of that and start doing some learning around, well, what are numbers? What do they mean? What do they mean to the cash flow of the business? What do they mean to the bottom line of the business? How can you be, so must have subscriptions. If you're small business, I would say G Suite, ActiveCampaign and Xero. If you're in a bigger business, that's going to look different, right? Because a lot of the time those are dictated to you, or you need a really good business case to be able to turn them on. So yeah, and then obviously cloud storage is a huge one. And my go-to for that is Dropbox. I couldn't live without Dropbox because I think its permissions and sharing just outshines everything. But I also work with tools that need to run locally off my computer, right? So Microsoft suite of tools. If you're, a designer, then you've got Adobe Creative Suite. If you are an architect, you might be working out of Revit or some other kind of CAD platforms, and they need the versatility that Dropbox offers. That other platforms don't offer. So, but look, beyond that, there's so much out there, right? There's stuff for online scheduling, there's social media management. I mean, it really depends on what remit and what you sit in. So it's such a big question. In terms of managing subscriptions, I mean, I manage largely what I know I've got a subscription through for my bookkeeping because I know what I have to pay for every month. And I'm a big believer in month-to-month subscriptions because then you can upscale and downscale and turn off and pause and turn on as you need to, even though they give really lucrative savings if you pay in advance. But a password, somewhere to store all your passwords, like one password or LastPass will give you a lot of, asset management to a point because you'll know what you've got passwords for and don't have passwords for. And going larger than that, some companies literally need asset registers. So when I worked in law firms, we had asset registered so that we knew who was subscribed to what and where and how a license is assigned. So that's a whole different kind of level again. Hopefully that sheds some insights because that's a massive question. Yeah,
it's a very big question. But for me, for example, like I've had a Hotmail account since I was like 12. I'm going to clean it out this weekend. But is there a tool that I could use to like quickly look at the subscriptions or like emails I'm signed up for that I don't need or I don't use anymore?
Yeah, so Unroll Me does that, which is a great little add-on. So you can definitely look at whether Unroll Me would work in an old Hotmail account. So that definitely is one for the win. I'm all for unsubscribing though, like literally hitting the unsubscribe button, because Unroll Me doesn't necessarily send a message back to the person who sent the email.
Yeah.
And I think we would all appreciate that, having a clean list and knowing that people genuinely, like when people unsubscribe, I'm like, oh, I'm hurt, but gee, I wonder what they didn't like, or was it because I was in front of the wrong audience, or had the wrong message, or it didn't quite time them, or what did that mean? Why don't they want to hear from me? Maybe was never a thing for them, So I use that information to learn more about what I should and shouldn't do in my business. So Unroll Me is great and it will do the job, but I think that when you unsubscribe, you're almost saying, it's almost a gift back to the person you're unsubscribing from, because you're helping them understand more about how they're communicating with you too.
Oh, definitely. 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap up.
But
as a productivity expert, what is the best way to block time for things outside of work? So exercise, reading, building in a commute, like how do you recommend time block for those sorts of things?
Yeah, to be honest, most of what I do with productivity is in business hours. So like in terms of life coach productivity, it's not a core remit of mine. So I guess the principles that apply, we've almost alluded to. There are a few different productivity methods out there, right? So time blocking is one. For some people, blocking out periods of time in their calendar is enough and is sufficient for them to find that inner discipline to then stick to that routine or schedule. One of the best books that I've ever read around this is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about if it is that you're trying to find some motivation to read a book and get some exercise and do things, bring those habits in so that they're wrapped around existing habits is a lot more successful than if you just randomly say 2:00 every day, I'm going to start exercising, when you might be less inclined to stick to it. Another person, a productivity advisor I follow, is Leo Babauta, and he has a lot in his material around focus and single focus. So not this idea of multitasking and being in lots of places all at once, but by really digging into what you want to focus on here and now and at this time, and how you can maintain your focus on that one thing to start achieving results. So maybe have a look at some of those as an option. So James Clear, Atomic Habits, and Leo Babauta's blog is Zen Habits. But he's got a book called The Power of Less. And so that for me has really framed a lot of my thinking around how I can build good habits into my work life, which I'm sure can extend into personal life. So that, you have this chance to start time blocking and more successfully achieve your goals. Yeah.
Beautiful. And the last one, how important is it to get to inbox zero?
What a great question. Who did this come from?
Definitely not Holly Patterson.
Okay, well, I am a big believer in inbox zero, but that's largely not because not because achieving the zero is the goal, I guess. It's more about not using your inbox as a to-do list, which lots of people do, because, you know, if you're using your inbox as a to-do list, it sort of starts dictating to you what you need to get done. I like to take things out of my inbox and put them into my task management, which is in Asana, but, you know, the Monday.com, ClickUp, Trello, I mean, there's heaps out there now. So the same principle applies. If you can get it across into wherever you're keeping all your tasks, you can triage and prioritize and put things all sort of together. So for me, the process of getting to inbox zero is about either delegating, so that if it's not an email I need to reply to, it can be, you know, forwarded off to the right person. If it's something that I don't even need to do, it's an FYI, I can archive it or delete it. And then it's not sitting there as a to-do in my inbox. And then anything that is a to-do gets moved out into my to-do list so that I can figure out, you know, where it fits in the big picture of things. So for me, that's what inbox zero is about. And for some people, it's about feeling control. So that real feeling of like not having anxiety when you look at your inbox and you go, I don't even know how I'm going to get to all of that. You know, like I don't really know how I'm going to do it. But I mean, I'm not a big believer in saving emails in folders either. So for me to get to inbox zero isn't that hard because I'm either forwarding it, you know, archiving the email, or deleting it. So it's sort of a lot more achievable if you're not trying to drag and drop into different folders. And that's largely I'm using Google. So, I mean, it's called Google is a search engine. And so all those Google Smarts are sitting inside of inbox. So if I ever need something, I just type in who I think it was from or what words I thought were in the email, and it kind of pops back up what I need. And I find that it's faster to search for what I need than to, you know, drag and drop and do all that email filing and then go to the folder, which I often used to end up in, and then search inside the folder anyway. So it was kind of counterintuitive. So for me, getting to inbox zero is about clarity. It's about not using my inbox as a to-do list. And I've made it, I guess, a lot easier for myself to get to zero because I'm archiving and not dragging and dropping into folders, because that just takes hours. But for some people, they don't need to worry about it. It doesn't bother them and it doesn't irk them. They feel like, you know, they've found other methods for being on top of their to-dos with 18,000 emails in their inbox. But for me, that wouldn't work. And so a lot of what I vouch for with getting to inbox zero is about not using the inbox as a to-do list.
Yeah, no, beautiful. I just wanted to quickly circle back to that whiteboard option. Renee just commented before, and she said that which is a web whiteboard, is easy to use and collaborate. And also Miro, I'm going to say this wrong, but miro.com is another great option for you guys to look up as well. But we're going to leave it there. So thank you so much, Kiah, for spending time with us. I know this weekend I have been inspired to go declutter my Hotmail account.
Just kill that thing.
It's just almost everything goes there. It's too late. I'm in there forever now.
Yeah. Fine.
If you have any more questions, please go head over to Kiah's website, kiahworling.com, and definitely download her 52 tech tips. I will be working on that this weekend because I downloaded it earlier this week. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. You can go talk to us over on socials, Women in Digital, and we will be there. And have a great weekend. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.